Alright, in this video we're going to be comparing an AGM 100 amp hour battery to the cheapest lithium battery I could find on eBay. So a few stats to start with. There's a lot of die-hard AGM battery users out there just don't want to make the change. So say, oh, it's too expensive, lithiums aren't reliable, they blow up, they catch fire. That's old stuff, the fire thing. Very unlikely one of these are going to catch fire. Different cells, different technology. A lot of the lithium batteries today come with a fire suppressant foam in them as well, that gases should it ever catch fire and actually can put the lithium fire out, which is a good idea. This old cheapo probably doesn't have that. Okay, so apples to apples comparison. This battery here is a Ritar 100 amp hour, one of the better brands of AGM. I did have a couple of these in my van for many years. So this one here is 300, the cheapest one I could find on eBay, $309 delivered. So a brand new battery. The lithium, a LiPo 4 100 amp hour, $300 delivered. So $9 cheaper for the lithium battery. But a lot of the times with these cheap Chinese batteries, 100 amp hours is not what you get. Sometimes 70 to 80 is all you'll get out of them. So price factor, the 100 amp hour lithium is cheaper by $9 than our Ritar 100 amp hour AGM. Alright, so weights is another thing. 37 kilos for the Ritar and 11.7 kilos for our 100 amp hour AGM, which is reasonably close with the new cells of today to the weight that we'll be looking for as far as weight to storage capacity of a lithium battery. So far our lithium battery beats the Ritar on price and of course murders it on weight. 3 of these is equivalent weight to one of those, even a little less. Okay, so I did 3 tests, 3 drawdown tests at different amps, and the way I did this now, because of the BMS in the lithium, they're pretty good at keeping a constant voltage and will keep a constant current. So the way I did the test was charged them both up full. I loaded this one with our test rig to 10 amps for the first drawdown, and then because with an AGM, as the voltage drops the current drops, I left the load identical and just simply placed it straight on to this. So it would start at close to 10 amps on the drawdown, but as the voltage dropped on this battery, of course the current would drop as well. Alright, so for the AGM at the 10 amp drawdown test, I let it go down to 11.9 volts. You shouldn't take any more than about 50% out of these if you want to get any sort of a life out of them. Probably 800 to 900 cycles at a 50% drawdown. So normally that would be around 12 volts. And I kept it going until we hit 11.9 volts across the battery. So our 10 amp hour or a 10 amp drawdown to 11.9 volts on the AGM, I got 53.4 amp hours. The same 10 amp drawdown on our cheapo eBay lithium battery, oddly enough, I got 102.6 amp hours until the BMS switched off. Now, the only problem is once the BMS switches off on some of these batteries, you actually have to jump them with another battery to wake it back up. Fortunately for me, the charger I have has a power supply mode, so I just put it on power supply mode, gets the battery up and running, then I switch it over to lithium. So and of course that will charge up to 14.7 volts, which it did, and then it will switch off. Okay, so for our AGM, 53.4 amp hours down to 11.9 volts, which is close to 50%, which is all you should do with those. So to get our 100 amp hours we would need 2 of these. And for our El Cheapo eBay battery, oddly enough, at a 10 amp draw we got 102.6 amp hours. So actually more than 100 amp hours, which is very strange for a cheap Chinese battery, I must say. So so far so good. Alright, so the next test was a 15 amp drawdown test, carried out in the same way. Started off on this battery here, got me 15 amps, did the test on this one, then just swapped the load set as it was over to this one, done the same thing. So for our AGM in the 15 amp drawdown test, I got 50.3 amp hours to 11.9 volts. For our lithium, I got 99.8 amp hours, so I nearly got the 100 amp hours, very close to it, at 15 amps draw. So not too bad at all. Very surprised for a $300, and that's Australian dollars. It's cheaper in the US, of course, as far as the dollars go. But yeah, 15 amps, 99.8 amp hours. Alright, so then I did a 25 amp drawdown test. Carried out the same way. For our AGM, I got 44.3 amp hours, and for our lithium I got 97.7 amp hours at 25 amp draw. Now this only has a 50 amp BMS, so 50 amp max is all you can pull from these, which is quite standard for a 100 amp hour battery. You would need to get up into the expensive 120 amp hour batteries to get the 100 amp BMS. But nonetheless, 97.7 amp hours, so a little under the 100 amp hours at 25 amp draw, and 44.3 amp hours for our AGM, which is less than half of our El Cheapo lithium battery. So that is an apples to apples test, and this $300 lithium battery has come out on top, beating this one by a mile in every sense. So it's same size physically, weighs a lot less, delivers a lot more, and cost $9 less than an AGM. So there's no more excuses about, oh, lithiums are too expensive, because now lithiums are cheaper than AGMs. And you would need 2 of these AGMs, $600 worth, 600 plus, 618 for the cheapest ones, to get the same capacity as you do out of one of these. And of course you're going to have 6 times the weight. So there you go, an apples to apples test. I didn't bore you with all the testing I did. That makes the video go on for hours and hours, so I just tested them. I'm not biased either way. I don't care what batteries you buy, it's just information. I really wanted to test this cheap lithium battery from eBay, and it's come up trumps so far. What the cycle life is, I don't know. I don't have 5 or 6 years to do that many cycles to test it. So there you go, apples to apples, lithium wins in every sense. So no more excuses about lithium costing too much, because they no longer do. And if you want a known good battery that's cheap on eBay, instead of diving in and buying an unknown, 300 AU dollars, tests are done, delivers at 25 amps, very close to what it actually claims, which is very surprising. They're normally nowhere near what they claim, but this one is. There's no brand on it. This is all I've got. It's an unbranded battery. What we will do is zoom in on that little number there so you can have a bo peep. There you go. So I'm guessing that's the one you're going to be looking for if you want a half decent lithium battery. So so far so good. But what we're going to do with this, and the other reason I bought this, I have a 48 volt trike I've just built. I did build a battery pack for it, but it was made out of 3.2 volt giant size cylindrical cells of unknown size and brand. Very big, bulky and heavy. I'll try and get the lid off of this one and convert this to 48 volts. So I know I've got 100 amp hours, so at 48 volts I should be close to 25 amp hours. And once I've done that, I'll be making up a regen circuit for my bike, because very hilly where I ride, so rather than wasting brakes and burning off power going down hills, I want to put it back into the battery, and that'll be a video further on down the track. So my next video is I'm going to try and open this, use the heat gun to try and soften the glue and pop it off, so I don't have to cut the actual battery, so I can convert it, put it all back together and leave it in this case, which will sit nicely in the big box I have at the back of my trike, and only add 11.7 kilos. So no different from me riding a bike or someone that's 12 kilos heavier. So even though it looks big, it's not as far as weight's concerned. Alright, thanks for watching guys. Just a little bit of info for you. So yeah, now there's no reason to say lithiums are too expensive, because they're now cheaper than the AGMs, a decent AGM, and they will deliver twice as much and weigh 1/3 the weight.